Oh, yay, we're live. Yay.
Hooray.
Yay, digital stuff. Yay. Hey. Yeah, we'll just wait a second for people to come and join as we go live and the notifications go out to people. I was going to say as well before we come, but I have my physical copy of it as well. Have you got yours? Yay.
Yeah. It's very lovely. Yeah, it's like whenever it's actually a book, it's finally goes from being, you know, you've had this pile of paper, or even not even a pile of paper these days, right? You know, it's just like, you know, a couple of megs on your hard drive, and then you think like, oh, it's actually a book now. It's actually a physical object.
It's a real thing
that you can actually touch, you know. And
I was saying that the pages are very
it never gets old, say, being able to sort of walk into a bookstore, see the book, and go like, oh, here's me, and also Josh in this case. But you know, oh, I made this. This is really nice. So this is like something like I'm into my like 50th book now. I think 54, 55 books. I never get sold. It's always really good to see it. And it's got a fantastic cover as well. It's really awesome.
Yeah, the cover is lovely. Do you ever get like the urge to just like be in a bookshop and just hold something up and go, I wrote that. This is me. Because that's what I would do. I'd just be like standing there.
You know, so
I wrote this.
I didn't sort of hang around, wait for someone to walk past it and go like, that's me be there. But, you know, that's like, oh, well. It feels a bit too
would do that. So. I would do it. I would walk up to bookstore and be like, would you like me to sign this? I'll sign it.
I have done like drive-by signings where I walked into a bookstore and signed a few copies for people. Once, a guy who didn't believe me when I said I was who I was. So I had to prove I said, here's my driver's license saying who I am.
There's a picture of in the back. Oh, excellent. Well, welcome to your first Acoyte book stream with us. Hopefully many more in the future as well. But yeah, we do these every Friday with our authors, get to know you and get to know the book as well. So most people will already know who I am, but for those who don't, who are new, hi, I'm Anjuli. I am Acoyte's marketing manager. If you've spoken to us on any social media sites, it'll be me that you're speaking to. Thanks for coming along. James, would you like to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you.
I am James Swallow. I describe myself as a writer of stuff. I'm a novelist. I've worked in video games. I've written audio drama. I've worked on TV. I'm working with Acoyte in this sort of writing a tie-in novel for the Watch Dogs Legion video game. I've worked on a whole bunch of video games as well. So also some stuff from Ubisoft, some of the Tom Clancy games, the DedSec game series, which is kind of in a similar kind of cyberpunk sort of space. So this is something that's kind of right in my wheelhouse that I was really excited about being part of, because it's so much fun to work on a tie-in project on a franchise as cool as Watch Dogs. And this is just co-writing project as well with my good friend Josh Reynolds, who unfortunately can't be here today. So it's been really exciting, and I'm really glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you here. I'll just show a nice little picture of the cover there for everyone. So this is Watch Dogs Legion Day Zero. So it is a prequel to the Watch Dogs Legion game that came out 2 weeks ago now, to rave reviews. And I've been keeping up to date on all things Watch Dogs Legion on Reddit and things. And everyone seems very, very excited by the game and also by the book. Reddit, there's lots of people talking lovely things about it and saying that they want the characters in it to part of the DLC for the game. So it's like, that's cool. I really like that idea. Let's make the DLC.
Yeah, we've been getting some really great support from all the Redditors out there. So yeah, thanks folks for reading our book and supporting it. It's terrific to see you're really excited about it.
So for anyone who might be new or never played a Watch Dogs game before, do you want to give us just a quick summary maybe of the setting for Watch Dogs?
I'd say the best way to describe Watch Dogs is it's like a hacktivist action adventure RPG. Is you're placed in the character of a member of DedSec, which is this underground hacker activist organization, going out there creating trouble, and basically trying to fight the power. And in this particular story, in Watch Dogs Legion, it's set in a near future dystopian London that's been taken over by criminal gangs, government organizations, and private military contractors. And you're basically the little guy trying to strike back, trying to get people to rise up against this oppression and take back the city.
I've only played the first game. I really liked what I've played of it. Watch Dogs Legion is on my list just from watching the trailers and just watching other people's gameplay. It looks definitely like my type of game. That sort of, yeah, a little bit chaotic, which is how I play my video games.
It is pretty cool. I mean, I played the very first Watch Dogs game, the one set in Chicago with Aiden Pierce as the lead character. I remember when the trailer for that first hit, and we were all really excited because we'd never seen a game like that before, and I just thought it was really, really cool. And then all these years later, you know, I'm a Londoner, London lad, born and bred, you know. So when I heard that Watch Dogs Legion was going to be set in my hometown, I was like, oh, I have to play this game, you know. And I'm playing it right now, actually. I'm about 20 hours in, and I'm really enjoying it. I've kind of liberated a couple of boroughs so far. I've recruited a dozen interesting characters, including a YouTube streamer, a living statue, and one of the royal guards from Buckingham Palace, the guy with the busby and the red uniform and everything. You know, that's been a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to completing that. First thing I did, I got a moped and I was driving around London looking for places that I know. You know, like my favorite coffee shop. I was like seeing if you know, I could find that, and it was very cool. It's a pretty good representation of the city.
Oh, that is very cool. I might have played just for that. I feel I do miss London. Like I come from Essex, so I'm very close to going to London. Like every weekend was my sort of thing, and now it's like I'm in Nottingham, and it's like, oh, it's quite difficult to get to London from Nottingham. Yeah, I miss it. I miss it a lot. Yeah, that would be quite fun. Oh, okay then. So this book is a prequel, as I said, to the game. So can you maybe just give us a quick summary of what we can expect from Watch Dogs Legion Day Zero?
Okay, I've got to tread carefully here because I don't want to give away any spoilers. We designed the storyline to kind of connect to the beginning of the narrative of Watch Dogs Legion, the video game. The idea is that you could pick up this book, read the story, and literally put the book down, pick up your controller, and the story will just carry on seamlessly. There's a very big event that takes place at the beginning of the Watch Dogs game. So what we've done in Day Zero is we are setting up the events that lead in to that big explosive event that sort of kicks off the narrative of the video game. And what we did is we created a group of characters who come from different walks of life in London, who are all connected in different ways to this unfolding conspiracy, which is the main plotline for Day Zero. And as the novel advances, all of their storylines come together, and they find themselves having to work to discover who's behind this conspiracy, who's killing people, who's setting up this terrible thing that's about to occur, and can they stop it before everything goes terribly wrong.
That sounds good. That sounds really good. So let's. So for anyone watching as well, the chat is open. So if you have any questions as we're chatting, do pop them in the chat, and we will endeavour to answer them. Obviously, we're not going to give spoilers away, so don't ask us to spoil any games or anything. But yeah, please do feel free to ask any questions of myself or James as we chat. So in the game, so you can recruit anyone you come across. You can say, hey, I need you to help me. How did that affect sort of the creation of your characters in the game? Did you choose characters that you knew would already be part of the game, or are they brand new characters? How did it make it? How did you use that like very specific, very sort of special part of that game in making your characters in the story?
Well, what we wanted to do is we didn't want to pick characters who were already in Legion. What we did is we created our new characters, but we knew what kind of characters would be in the game. So we created characters who are similar to the characters that you can play in the game, so that it feels like, you know, you if you read the book, the characters you'll get used to meeting and understanding in the story will be reflected in the video game. So we have Olly, who is a bike messenger. He's kind of like a Deliveroo biker type guy, you know. But he's also like a wannabe hacker, so he's trying to get into DedSec. He's like a new recruit. He's kind of our noob character. He's the guy who you get to see a lot of the storyline through. We have brother and sister. We have Rosemary, who calls herself Ro, and we have Danny. And Danny is an ex-soldier who's been recruited by Albion, which is the private military contractor you see in the game. And he's in a situation where, you know, he's taken this job because it's the only job he can get, but he finds himself being asked to do bad stuff, and he's kind of going down this dark path, and he has to question what he's doing and decide like whether he wants to be a good guy or a bad guy. Rosemary, on the other hand, she's an ex-MMA fighter, and she's fallen in with a bad crowd, which is the Kelley clan, which is the large organized crime organization in the Watch Dogs London world. And she's become the kind of leg breaker for these guys. And she's in a bad situation. She's being pushed into stuff that she doesn't want to do. And of course, brother and sister also don't get on very well. So we have this sibling rivalry and a bit of friction going on there. And we also have a character, a politician, Sarah Lincoln, who is like an MP for Tower Hamlets in London, which is one of the boroughs in London. And she's this very opportunistic character. She's always looking for the right angle, looking for a way to kind of improve things for herself. She's a bit of a morally grey character. And she also finds herself involved in this conspiracy. And she has to make a decision. It's like, you know, is she going to use this to her own advantage, or is she going to do the right thing? Or is she just going to kind of try and thread the needle between the two of them? What we have is all these characters coming together to connect into the main story. And all of them are designed to reflect the sort of people you will meet when you play the game. You know, you will be able to recruit bike messengers, Albion people. You will be able to recruit criminals from the Kelley clan. You will be able to recruit politicians. All of those people are in the game. So we wanted to make one of them reflect the other.
I think it as we sort of said at the beginning of the stream, like there's a lot of people online who are saying that they want these characters, they want to be able to recruit them, they want to know more of their stories. I think that shows just how well you've done with these characters, that these huge fans of the franchise want to see these characters in their game as well.
That's really nice to know. I mean, on the one hand, I think that would be kind of cool to see him in the game, but of course, you know, you have permadeath setting in the video game, right? So I would be a little upset if somebody played Ollie and then like Ollie gets run over by a car, and I'm like, oh no, you killed off this character I really liked, you know.
That is true. Yeah, that would be really sad. They have to have some code written in them where you couldn't kill them.
You can turn permadeath off actually in the game. I mean, I have to admit, I went around and around like when I first started playing the game. He's like, oh, do I want to keep it on? You know, if I have a character I really like, because I guess I don't know if it's just because I'm a writer, you know, but I come across characters I'm really fond of. And so I'm like, I'm not going to put that guy in harm's way because I really like him. I'm going to send another character who I don't care if they die, you know.
Oh, those poor other characters. Just fodder. Okay, so the book itself is like really fast paced and has a lot of action in it, I guess, to keep it very much in keeping with the game. But how do you keep your momentum going for when you're writing those sort of lots of action scenes and things? How, as a writer, how do you keep it like gripping?
Well, a lot of it comes down to the plotting. Is you know, I have to give a big shout out here to Josh, who isn't around today. Josh did a lot of the heavy lifting in the narrative. Josh is the one who really kind of brought the characters to life and really helped kind of give these characters energy and impetus. A lot of my job was the plotting. So I'm building the structure for the story. Making sure that, like, you know, we've got action events happening, but we've also got spaces for the characters to have a moment to breathe, for you to get to know them. And I think one of the things that's been useful to me as somebody who worked in video games and in books is I kind of understand how both work, and I bring the structure together, hopefully, in day zero. In games, you need to have a kind of propulsion that moves the player on, and you want the player to do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And in a book, you want people to keep reading, right? You want them to keep turning the page to go to the next chapter. And it's connecting those two things together, getting that structure to work. Hopefully we've done that with day zero, creating a fast-paced action story that will just, at the end of it, I want people to finish reading this book and go, okay, I've got to pick up the game right now, and just feel that energy.
I suppose it's like the chapters are sort of like your quests. So you've got to have a good quest so that you don't just wander around aimlessly like, what was I doing again?
Yeah, we're definitely trying to reflect the structure of the game. Is, you know, in the game you have main quests and side quests, and you flip between different characters to accomplish different goals. And in the story, we're doing the same thing. Is characters will change between scenes. So one chapter will be about one character doing one thing, and then we move to another character doing something else. We're trying to mirror the structure of the game and mirror that in the narrative.
How do you go about doing like collaborative work? So you worked with Josh Reynolds on this, and you said that he did a lot of the heavy lifting for the like that part of it. But how do two writers sort of write together? Do you say, right, I'm going to write this scene, or I'm going to write this character, and how do you go about making that work?
It was more rather than sort of like breaking up the chapter structure, like you do this chapter, I do this chapter. It was more kind of, we were working on different levels. So the very early stages, lots of Skype calls, me and Josh and Mark Gascoigne, our editor, just, you know, beating the story into shape. It's a lot like, I say it's a lot like the way that TV series are made, is that, you know, you start off with your premise, and you have your cast of characters, and then we have the kind of, well, our chapters are like our episodes. So if you think of, like, you know, the book is like one season of a TV show, is that each episode is a chapter of the book, and we give each character kind of a place to go, and you know, they've got their main story arc, but they've also got little stories here and there that reappear throughout and all connect together. So most of my work was developing the characters, developing the structure, whereas Josh was doing most of the actual kind of hands-on keyboard writing, creating the shape of the characters and giving them a voice. And then what I would do is I would work with him editing the chapters as he was writing them, just making sure that everything's kind of moving in the same direction. And also, I think another key thing that I was very hot on doing is I wanted to make sure that this feels like, again, I talk about being a Londoner, I wanted to make sure it feels like London, that the characters sound like Londoners, the city is as much a character in it as all of the main narrative characters. Because one thing I hate is when I read a book set in London, or indeed anywhere, right? When you see that the person who's written it, they kind of haven't done their research, and I like to make it feel true, you know. So hopefully readers will get a real sense of what the city's like in that novel too.
I think they have, from reading, because I get to read all of the reviews, obviously, when they come in from like NetGalley and across the internet as well. And a lot of people have commented on sort of the voices that everyone has, and those reviewers that are from England have been like, oh yeah, this, I can really like hear them like with this Cockney accent or something. And then I have like American ones who were like, I didn't understand what they were saying. I sort of got the gist of it, but I'd never heard that phrase before.
I can remember very early on where there's a scene, like I think it's in the very first chapter, where Olly is riding his bike through the traffic, and I'm not gonna, I can't swear on this channel, so I'm not gonna say it. But there was a bit where he said, Josh said, well, this guy kind of like swears at him, and I said, no, you need to say the word. You need to have the guy say, can I swear?
You can say it.
The guy has to shout wanker out of the back of the van, because that's what would happen in London. You wouldn't just kind of, he swore at him, so no, you've got to make it authentic. Put that in there. So I was very happy to see that in there, it just to give it that flavor and that texture of what it needs to be walking around the streets of London.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds very authentic to me as well.
You run off the road by angry white van man. It's like, yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah, it just tickled me when I like hear the Americans going, I'm not sure I've heard that phrase before.
come to London, you'll hear it a lot.
just how we say hello. Yeah. You talk about Olly a lot. Is he your favorite character from the novel, or have you got a favorite? Is it like the children?
It's tough. Olly's interesting because, like I say, he's the noob character. So Olly's the one who all the new stuff is kind of revealed through Olly's eyes. And what I like about him is, you know, he has a kind of background that's not a lot different from mine, actually. That, in fact, I think it's, and also I'd say it's true of Danny and Ro as well, is I grew up on a council estate in North London. You know, I was this sort of like, you know, urbanite kid, and riding my bicycle around the back streets and stuff like that. So I think that I feel kind of closer, I guess, to Olly than anything else. but also he's fun because he's the one who sees everything with new eyes. So you're exploring the story through him, and that's a lot of fun to write that. So yeah, I guess I would say I like Ollie a lot. I think also I like Danny and Rose's relationship, because they're both people who, you know, they're decent people. They love their mum. There's a lot of love between them, but the situation they're in is kind of made them lose that familial connection. And in the course of this story, we see them get that back, and that's a really nice sort of narrative to see that start in one place and evolve through to the end.
What's your favorite thing about writing tie-in fiction then? So you've written.
I mean, I often say, like, it's like someone comes to you and says, here's this thing that you really enjoy, like a TV game, you know, this fictional world, and you've kind of visited this place, and you get given kind of a ticket to go there again, but this time it's like they give you this box of toys, and that's the world. And it's like, okay, here's this box of toys, and you can take this box of toys and you can play with them and you can tell your own story. At the end, you have to give the box back because it's not yours, right? To go into these fictional worlds, and it's, you know, just add a little bit of something to it. For me, when I visit a fictional world that I'm a fan of myself, I wouldn't write a tie-in for a world I didn't like, because I think if you don't have love for it, it's going to show. You know, if you're just doing it as a cheap cash-in, you know, I'm not interested in doing that. I want to write about worlds I like. I want to be able to give a little bit of something back, add a little bit of something to it, and that's the real thrill about doing it.
Yeah, I like that actually. So I ask that question to like everyone that comes on, because obviously everyone's doing a tie-in for us of some IP or another, and so many people use that whole, it's like being given a box of toys and you get to play with them, but you're not allowed to break them because you have to give them back to someone. So you just have to be sure that you play with them nicely, you create a lovely story, but then you have to give them back at the end. A lot of people use that same analogy. But what are the challenges then of writing tie-in fiction? And how do you overcome them?
I've had other writers, people who don't do tie-ins, say to me like, oh, it must be, you know, intellectually, creatively bereft, right? Because all the work's done for you, and, you know, how can you ever tell a really interesting story when it's all kind of there? But I think that's not true at all. I think it's the challenge is, if you have the box that the world in, how do you tell a good story that is new and interesting? You have to push at the edges of that box. You know, you're looking at ways to say, here's a character maybe that you might be writing about, a character that people know really well. How do you make that story interesting? Is you have to kind of unfold them a little bit. Is maybe in a book you can show an aspect of that character point in their life in a way that has never been seen anywhere else. And that's really exciting, to be able to kind of shine a light on something that maybe somebody hasn't seen. With Watch Dogs, we were creating new characters, but the world was already established. So what we had the opportunity there was to show the world in a different way, to show different bits of Watch Dogs. Say, well, here's maybe part of it that you won't see in the game, or here's part of it that you might not have considered. We're going to show that to you. We're going to unfold that and give you a little bit more depth and show you some of the more inner life of it. And that's the thing I really like doing, is kind of digging in to the background and the inner life of these characters and worlds. It's a lot like, if you imagine someone came to you and said, I want you to write a stage play, and here's the cast of actors, and we've already got the scenery, and we've already got the costumes and the props, but we don't have a story. That's what writing tie-ins like. Is you've given this, as you say, the box of toys, you're given this stuff to build your story around. Whereas have a blank page, and that is a completely different kind of challenge, because you have to kind of make up absolutely everything. But with an existing universe, you get all this great stuff. You get this great kit of gear that you can use, and then you get to create a great story to sort of slot in there, and that's fun. It's a unique challenge.
Yeah. Would you like to go back to this dystopian London and write some more within the setting? You got any ideas you'd like to create?
We have, Josh and I, we have talked about it. You know, I think at the end of doing this story, we were sort of happy with how it came out. We both enjoyed the experience. We definitely could go back to tell more stories. Definitely, you know, some of these characters, some don't make it through the story, but some do. So we could definitely tell more stories about these characters in the Watch Dogs London. So the world is big, you know, the game's set in London, Chicago, Cisco, but we've also had, like, you know, other novels. There's an ebook story that was done. There was comic books places. So the world of Watch Dogs doesn't necessarily have to be to just those cities. Obviously, I'd love to go back and do more London stories because I love that London. But there's definitely it's really a success. If people really want to see more stories with these characters, maybe we could come back and do more.
Yes, definitely. And to make it a success, everyone, all you need to do is buy the book. It's very, very simple to do. Yes. Oh. So yes, Watch Dogs Legion Day Zero is out anywhere where you can buy books. So that is your local indie bookshop will have it. You want to go to Amazon, Amazon has it. A lot of gaming shops also have it because we sell through Asmodee as part of the Asmodee group ourselves. So a lot of your gaming shops will have it. And in the UK, yes, everything is locked down and therefore it's very difficult to go into a bookshop because they're all closed. But we do have virtual bookshops now, and you can find them on our social media. We have links, which they are amazing. So they are online indie bookshops. So we make the bookshop front, but if you buy the book, it comes from an indie bookshop and they get an extra percentage of the profits for you buying it that way. So you're helping support an indie bookshop in a time when you can't go into an indie bookshop, which is really great. And we have one in the US and in the UK. So you can get your books even if you're locked down. It's also available in ebook as well from anywhere where you buy your ebooks, such as Kobo or anything like that. So do we have any questions from the chat at all? Andy says, this sounds awesome. You are correct. It does sound awesome. But yeah, if you have any questions, we've got a couple of minutes before our 30 minutes is up. So please do ask them if you wish. Is there anything else that you want to talk about, James, while we wait? Any new and upcoming things? Doesn't have to be Acoyte related. But...
what can I talk about now? Well, for all of my American readers, my latest action thriller novel, Ghost, has just come out in hardback in the US. So if you like Day Zero and you want to read more kind of fast-paced action thriller stuff, please pick that up. That's a great book. I'm really, really happy with it, and it's doing pretty well in the US right now. So yeah, take a look at that. Otherwise, I'd like to echo your comment as well about if you are interested in Day Zero, please support your local indie bookstores, because those guys and girls are working very, very hard. Lockdown's been tough for everybody, but especially small stores like that are always kind of working around the margins. They really will appreciate if you want to buy the book from them. So please do that. And you can help them keep their head above water while COVID's happening.
Definitely. I've put the link up in the chat for anyone watching for the UK indie bookshops. So please, yeah, do check them out. Do help support local businesses. And if you are buying from one of your local game shops, you know, a lot of game shops are doing click and collect services. So do contact them and say, hey, have you got this book? Can you get this book for me? Game shops across the whole of the UK and the US and Canada can order this book directly from Asmodee, who they would get most of their board games and card games from. If you tell your gaming shop that you want it, they can get it, and that's really important. Yeah, so get the word out as well. You get it, put it on social media, have a nice happy picture of you going, oh my goodness, I have my book. Because I will like that. That will make my day good when I see nice things like that on the social medias instead of just
I want to see people wearing their watchdog mask, holding up a copy of the book. It's kind of cool.
Yes, there was a guy, he did a review on YouTube, and he had like all of his DedSec stuff on. I was like, oh, cool. You enjoy this. It's really fun.
That's always great. Yeah. when we hear from somebody who's like a serious fan of the stuff, and they're the people who will make sure that we do everything right, that we get every detail, and that's the sort of like the hardest of the hardcore audience. So if we can get fans to be happy about it, then I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah, I've not seen anything of people saying like, oh, they got this wrong or this wrong, which is good. It means that we were all paying attention when it was written and edited and put through. But yeah,
we had some great conversations actually with Ubisoft when we were first talking about this. Is we had a big like conference call where we had everybody at Ubisoft. We had the writing team talking to us. We had the marketing guys. We had everybody who's involved with the project, just discussing about like, okay, what's the best story that we can tell? And we talked about a lot of different things. Early on, one of the ideas we talked about was, do we want to do a story that is kind of connecting the first two games to Legion? So would we talk about Aiden Pierce, who's the main character in the first game, Marcus Holloway, who's the character in Watch Dogs Legion 2? Do we want to do a story about them, or do we want to do something completely new? And we had all these different thoughts. Do we want to set the book after the game, or in the game, or before the game? And in the end, the idea of Day Zero, originally we were going to call it London Falling, was the original title for our working title for it. But we kind of hit on the idea of Day Zero because, of course, Zero Day is the name of the villain in the game, the kind of the inciting incident. So we're like, oh, okay, so that's a play. It's also about actually the day before everything happens in the game. You have in the story, if you read the book, we're counting down. Each chapter is kind of counting down from like day 5, day 4, day 3 through to day 0. So we create this sense of, the clock running down before everything happens for the game. So it was a really fun idea to sort of like, let's do this prequel story. And everybody at Ubi was really engaged with the idea. Once they understood like, this is the direction we want to take it in, they were so helpful. And I think that, they've been really, really super supportive about this, which has been terrific. Sometimes franchises I've worked on, licenses are kind of like, you can do whatever you like, and other people are very, very super restrictive about what we can and can't do. Ubi gave us a really free hand to just tell the best story that we could. I think it's really paid off.
Yeah. Next week I'm actually going to be talking to Matthew Kirby and Amar from Ubisoft. He's the head of content for Assassin's Creed. So we're going to have another talk like this next week, the three of us, about the Valhalla book.
Cool.
Yeah, but I do enjoy talking to Ubisoft because they obviously are very passionate about their different franchises and the different stories. And yeah, they just want to make sure that the best version of whatever is being created has been created, and it's nice to work with people like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Ubi's got so many amazing fictional worlds there. I mean, Valhalla, the Assassins. I mean, like I'm a bit of a fan of Vikings, I have to say. So I'm looking to playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and the Assassin's universe is a huge one as well. Plus they have all like Tom Clancy games, and they have like Beyond Good and Evil. There's so many great, amazing IPs that that Ubisoft have out there, and it's cool to see Acoyte partnering with them. It's kind of again building out, like I was talking about, unfolding the story. It's a great way to kind of build out the world to give you more about those fictional universes that you really enjoy. Yeah,
I started playing Valhalla last night. It's good.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I really like it. I'm just playing Odyssey as well, so I'm sort of jumping between the two of them. I can't choose which one I want to play more. But yeah, very much enjoying Valhalla.
I think the first time I played, I think it was AC2 was the first one I played, and like about a year later, I went on holiday to Italy, and I went to a couple of locations from the game, and it's weird. You have that sort of virtual tourism. You get this a little bit with Watch Dogs too, is that you go to visit these places that are like simulated versions of real places. And still now, the legacy of playing Assassin's Creed is I can't look at like a Renaissance building without thinking, how would I climb up that? Leap from this to this to this, jump off the floor. Where's the haystack?
Yeah. Yeah, the Odyssey is set in Kefalonia, and that was like one of my favorite islands to visit in Greece. So it's like, oh, I wish I was here again. Look at all this blue water and these lovely beaches. But yeah, sadly, I'm not.
Odyssey's got the guy who does the voice acting for Leonidas in that. In the Netflix show Blood of Zeus, which has just come on very recently. He's really great now. But he worked with me on the DedSec series, and he's a really terrific voice actor. You know, and seeing him in that game was very cool. It's a lot of fun. You know, the Assassin's Creed games, I think that well to kind of turn on a whole generation of people into history that maybe they might not have been exposed to in another way.
Yeah, sure. Right. Well, I think that's it from us then. I've not got anything come up in chat, but thank you everyone for coming along and for watching. I can see you all there. Hello. I see you watching. Hopefully no questions means that we answered everything that people wanted to know, or people are
awesome.
busy at work. Yeah. But thank you everyone for coming along, and I'll see you next week for the Assassin's Creed Valhalla meeting. And also I think I have one with Carrie Harris for Liberty and Justice for All. So yeah, I look forward to seeing people next week. Bye everyone. Bye.